Today's theme, if you look at Freddie Mercury, he had his trademark with the EO. We at PDSVISION have Mikko Hinkanen. His trademark is Creo. And by that, I hand over to Mikko.
Thank you very much, Roger, for this nice introduction. My, trademark is bad hair day every day, and maybe Freddie Mercury had a good hair day every day. But without further kind of distractive comments, we go direct to the webinar, What's New on Creo 8. And there is quite a lot of new substance in Creo 8, and our agenda is go through the system kind of enhancements first, then some general CAD usability and productivity enhancements. Then we have a bit deep dive with the model-based definition and detailing. Then we do have a simulation optimization talk track with the generative topology optimization as well, and then something with additive and subtractive manufacturing. And at the end of the whole webinar, we have questions answers kind of a session. So don't hesitate to ask more if you want to know more details about us. Then, as a reminder, this is a first webcast out of the series of 4. This is kind of a general introduction to what's new in the Creo Parametric 8, and then we have even more deep dives at the later on, where you can register as well. So let's go for system level enhancements. At the system level enhancement, we have let's say half a dozen things, a bit bigger ones. And as you know, the Creo Parametric has embedded browser, web browser, and the default has been quite a long time for Internet Explorer. You can change this one to Chromium-based browser as well if you want to. And what's been done is upgraded the version of the Chromium-based browser to version 85, just to guarantee that you have proper IT security on the place. Then the same thing applies also for the Creo security updates. So PTC has basically updated standard a bit with what kind of possible loopholes there might be, and go through them with the tedious kind of process, and make sure that your Creo application is safe on any network environment there might be. Then, as a continuation of this IT security, we also have upgraded our Java to Java 11. And nowadays, it's also possible to run a Creo not using Java, but using Amazon Corretto instead. And the difference basically for the end user between those two is that Oracle's Java requires a kind of paid up license, but you may get the AWS license for the Corretto a bit more kind of economical price. In general, you don't really need Java for the Creo at all, but if you run for certain applications, then you have a requirement for that you have to have something Java-based kind of a library in your hands. Then a new one is the multi-monitor support, so that you can basically scale down application a bit, maybe scale up the fonts and so forth, so that you can actually make best use of your 4K displays and so forth, and still see the letters and dialog boxes, and that they are not so small. So it makes your daily work a bit easier. And then one thing more that Creo 8 is, yes, it's supported with Windchill. Most recent versions like 11.1, 11.2 is the ones that are supported. And with Windchill 12, we have a planned ones that are 12.02 and 12.1, what is upcoming in the track. Then for that, a bit larger case custom upgrade is that we used to have the Creo 8, a thing called enterprise releases. And those were basically the releases that were supported longer ones, and then we have a non-enterprise releases that you have a support span of maybe around 1 or 2 years. And previously, we had the Creo 4 and Creo 7 as enterprise releases, which were having an extended lifespan support for them. But then, PTC got thinking again about this enterprise release scheme and realized that it's not necessarily nice that we have pushing the customers to certain enterprise releases and make them kind of force them to have a certain kind of upgrade paths for them. So that's why we are having from this point on a new kind of a release scheme, which makes it so that all the applications from the Creo 8 upwards will be supported for a total of 4 years, and first 2 years the maintenance releases are delivered each quarter, and then subsequent years you have a bit reduced rates of those maintenance releases out there. So this makes it possible for you to stick on the one of the launch releases for around 4 years. So you don't really have to care about which exact, is it the Creo 7 or Creo 4 that I have to go. You can basically pick anything from the Creo 7, Creo 8 or something like that, and still have a supported software for the years to come. That's about system level general highlights what we have. Then about when we go to Creo parametric usability and productivity things. Whoops, I jumped 2 slides already. What's been happening is that the dashboard has been upgraded, and my video is slacking out again a moment. So dashboard is upgraded, and what does it mean? You have a bit different look and feel about the buttons. Also, the dialogues on that dashboard are now separable so that you can track them away. And sometimes it is so that, for example, in the video, you will see that the designer is making a well definition, but again, those floating windows might help you, which you can have multiple floating ones as well, might help you about defining exactly what you want a bit faster rate. Then the datum displays on the lower left corner, we are having this new one, semi kind of let's say transparent, semi-transparent or somehow like that, applies today, and you can still use the kind of a legacy datum display dates if you want to, which might make sense in the bit larger models. Then there's a new one called transparency display, where you can control the display of the 3D solid models, quilts, and tessellated geometry. All of them are having a separate kind of fun ability to make them transparent. So let's say that I want to concentrate on my surface modeling, so I'll make that as a solid, but everything else is actually transparent or somehow ghost-like around it, so I can really concentrate on that one. Or then another one is that just show me all the solids and just hide all the tessellated and quilts. It just helps you with the management of the display a bit better. And then again, the Great Catcher is also been improved a bit. You will have a bit of better controls when it comes to visibility of the display dimensions and constraints in the sketcher, so that they don't kind of get lost in the background. Then the new thing in the model tree on the what you can see is that on the left here we'll have part 1, and it has a design items folder which contains quilts and also your bodies. But then what you can do today is throw this design items folder to totally new kind of a window, and that's kind of helps you if you are coming from some kind of a multi-body designing software to Creo, to have this kind of a construction geometry tree that you can kind of relate it. You will see your bodies, you will see the features underneath, or you see your quilts. Then on the other hand, we have this new possibility of making a custom crops in the design items, which then help you again to concentrate on the design quilts what you want to have, or the design solids what you want to have. And this makes it too easier to understand the model structure. Then when it's come to, let's say, ID models of complex surface modeling, we do have this new capability called snapshot. And what do we mean by that is that you can go and take a look at your surfaces and say either preview the snapshot, which means that show me the original surface when it was done without trimming. And the other option is that, well, copy it as it was when it was created. So if you need an additional copy of something, you don't really have to go with the insert mode to the beginning of the model tree, make a copy, go back, and then start quick modeling. This feature will do the snapshot just right after the initial surface creation. thus making you a bit faster on that one. But it is also very great for the debugging capabilities when it's come to investigating model, about modeling order and so on. Then a new whole feature is there as well. There's this thing called a sketch page multi-hole, and basically what you do is just click hole and then select the sketch page, and then you start drawing some kind of a geometry. You can do the points as with the point patterns or some other kind of a geometry type. And in the video here, we are showing you the kind of a polygon, and at each corner or each vertex of those lines, there will be a hole. So we'll see that at the line you don't have anything, but at the end of the line you will have a hole. So if you have to have some kind of a great, let's say, complex drilling pattern or something like that, this makes it quite easy for you to create those drilling patterns and guide them with the dimensions. Also, we have some enhancement in the tapped and tapered holes. So the lower left picture in there shows you a bit. So you have your tapered hole, and then you have some reduction to the constant diameter. Oh, well, I would say a typical use case for this would be the injection molds or something like that with the water cooling kind of channels on them. If we then go further with the usability and productivity theme, at the rotated systems, basically meaning or cabling model, we do have possibility of including a new kind of one tapes and also the shrink fits in there, so that you have a different kind of object types in there, which you can then of course report in the bill of material as well. Then the sheet metal is also enhanced in a way that previous with the flat walls was just based on the one reference, just one line. But today you can include multiple lines to one flat wall and thus generate multiple walls at the one go. Previously, this was only possible with the flange wall, but now the flat wall is supporting this one as well. Then we have something completely new. We have ability to create curves that have a shortest distance between 2 points. And you ask, okay, that's a line, yeah, but if you have go along a surface which has holes, then of course you have to go around the holes, which make it a bit harder to find out what is the shortest distance. And or shortest distance on the surface, shortest distance on the solid, or shortest distance on the body are basically the options. And this can be handy for, let's say, finding out the roads for cables, roads for piping, or then something like on the composite modeling, you can also have use cases for this one. Then we have something that's been kind of out there for a long time, and outstanding request about how do we handle things like that. If you have an assembly that is coming from, let's say, external source or subcontractor or something like that, and you're just purchasing that as a one item, you typically get still an assembly in the CAD and with a lot of components. And nowadays, what we can do is basically make an assembly as an inseparable, and that will cause that there is only a .asm file, and all the parts file are basically missing. And Windshield will support this one as well. So what is possible now is basically import some stuff or later on create some assembly and then define that as an inseparable, and basically all the subcomponents are gone from the Windshield point of view. Also, you will land as a single ASM file, and all of those components are embedded in there. And sure, yes, you can reverse the process as well. So if something is inseparable on this quarter, on next quarter, it can be also a traditional separatable, and you can get all the individual components out there. And this inseparable assemblies is supported also for the import side of the things. And I'm not going into details, but if you export data to Creo parametric, then you have the possibility also to support this one. Second thing, what is happening in the import-export department is that you have ability to export solid weld geometry. And this can be very handy for, let's say, finite element analysis or maybe rendering or something like that applications, where you can handle show that on the third-party applications, we want to have the whales as a solid out there. And these are supported on the tessellated geometry like a JT or at a bit richer content like step 242, which is typically used with the model-based definition. Then, still at the usability productivity department, we have a Render Studio, and it's been now upgraded a bit to support also the GPU rendering instead of CPU rendering. And then you have a bit more computation power available in there. Also, you have a new nice options about denoise, so that you will get basically a bit faster to the results or the preview level that you see that is this what you want or not. So kind of a general performance tuning in that department. Then I'll chip a second time of water in here before we go to model-based definition and detailing, where there's also a great pile of new stuff in there. In the model-based definition, what you do is basically plant all the dimensions in the 3D model and basically use that as a documentation. And now the symbols, which you still have to use from time to time, for example, defining a surface quality or a special treatment for something, we have a completely upgrade of those symbols as well. And they do also contain so-called schematic definition, which means that I can later on go and check, for example, at that step file, that what are exactly the surfaces that are affected, rather than just having a one surface that the node is applied for. So it contains a bit more intelligence than just a node and a leader line to one of the surfaces. Also, there's a new gallery where you can preview the stuff before you actually place it, and yeah, you can also customize the symbols a bit easier than today. Then second thing regarding to this model-based definition is that when you apply geometrical tolerances and dimensions, we have this kind of application called GDT Advisor, and it also supports today assemblies, which it previously didn't. And if somebody's not familiar with this particular tool, idea is really that the advisor is giving you hints about what kind of dimensions or tolerances actually you can put in there, basically blocking out the tolerances which you can't, and basically on the lower left, you have this advisor tree, which basically says that you have these issues with your models, and on the top left, you have the feature tree, which says that, okay, these are the kind of a geometrical entities that you might want to dimension. And thus, it kind of drives the quality of documentation in there as well. Then further on this one, surface collection has been enhanced so to support something like loop surfaces, seed and boundary surfaces, and those basic selections what you have in the Creo parametric. But this is now also available for the standalone annotations in MPD, thus making it very much easier for you to collect all the small surfaces that you might want to have for your 3D nodes, for example. Let's say that these are machinable surfaces, and now on the video we are collecting everything in between, and thus all of the green ones are the ones that this node is applied to. So this tolerance of shape in this case. Then we have something completely different. Back to Pro Detail or 2D drawings. PTC has now introduced a set of tools just for basically modifying existing 2D drawings. And I'm meaning the ones that you, let's say, have from the legacy data, let's say DXF files or DVG files. You have also been able to import them previously, but when it comes to modification of them, it's been if you use Creo parametric, it has been a quite tedious process. And some of the companies have been using, some other applications to keep the existing or legacy data in a good shape. But this kind of application now helps you to do everything in the Creo parametric rather than have a need for additional applications. And in here we have something like new things like a view. So you can have multiple views on on this one. And the views are kind of related to each other, so that you get a bit of help while doing your 2D kind of one drawings from the scratch, for example, or maintaining the existing ones. But in general, the application is not really meant for having how do I say this as a 2D kind of application. It is just meant for keeping your legacy data a bit easier, how do I say, maintained in the one single system, like using Creo parametric kind of windshield, and you don't have any need for any third-party applications to do more small changes to your legacy drawings. Then we go for simulation and optimization department. What's new in there? A few years ago, we get this new one called Creo Simulation Lab, and it get 2 different license levels. And with the Creo Simulation Lab Plus, you have a CFD kind of a computation possibilities in here, and it's all based on ASUS solver technology, so it's quite nice. On a kind of embedded CAD for concepting studies and stuff like that. So what's new with the Creo 8 is that you can have a steady state fluids, and you can see now on the screen on the video that somebody is computing this as a transition case, so that everything is moving over time. And you have a lot of vertices in there, but if you're just interested about end temperature, it just might be that you are much faster getting a converse results than running it on the time-dependent scale. So ability nowadays is to run it on the time-dependent or time-independent in a way so that it's steady state or not. So it basically, how would I say, it enables you to get a faster solutions, but on the other hand, gives you the possibility of this kind of investigate that if the solution actually is stable over time or not. Since if there's a difference in the results, you will see that, okay, there might be something time dependent in this as well. What else there was? Then we have second application from the ANSYS cooperation. It's called Creo ANSYS Simulation. And that basically enables you to do structural simulation like stresses and strains, also modal analysis and some thermal. And what's new with the Creo 8 is that you have ability to use large deformation in there. Basically, you have a user controllable option in there, which enables you to system to start to detect that if it's a large deformation case or not. And this, of course, enables you to get a bit more accurate results with your hands. Also, we have improved some meshing diagnostics in the process manager, that if you manage to get a situation where the meshing is not really working, then you have abilities to start debugging it a bit easier and get the results done a bit faster. Then another kind of a computation application is generative topology optimization, which was introduced in Creo 7. And in there, what you do is basically you define an area where you want to, for example, fix things. Then you want to also kind of define areas where you can't go, and maybe some additional geometry for the loading of this thing. And then you load it and let the system find out the solution that it kind of fulfills the design criteria. What's previously mandatory was that you actually had to do some kind of a sketch about this envelope in here. That okay, which is the space where I'm looking the solution. And now system is automatically giving you some kind of an envelope, which you can accept, or if you don't want that, have it manually made by yourself. And basically, then the system is just subtracting material away until the design conditions are met. And the new ones are for the design conditions are quite nice. So, for example, drafting for casting or forging type of geometries, and that enables you to land directly on the producible, manufacturable geometry rather than having have a separate kind of a modeling step on it. Then you have a second one called minimum bend radius, which just simply means that if you think about, let's say, a milling tool, you have a minimum radius for the milling kind of cutter size, so that you don't get too small geometries. And that also basically enables you to control how small details you want to have in here, since the minimum radius will be violated. So if you want to have very kind of a tender structures, you have a needle likes, have a smaller radius, but a bit bigger one if you have a more like a beam slab structure. So that is also driving the generation of the model. Then we'll have a few minutes with additive and subtractive manufacturing. And let's go with additive first. We have additive manufacturing suite in the Creo parametric as well, and it enables you to basically make the trays of the printing machine filled with the components that you want to manufacture. We have now basically enhanced the product with the ability to insert multiple components at one go. Also, improvements have been made to optimize it for build direction. So it depends now for surface quality and the dimensional accuracy that, you know, which is the position that you push the pieces in the tray. So that is also a kind of a optimization thing that you might want to do on that one. And all of those have been enhanced with the Creo 8. Another option, what you have in here is that if you are doing those lattices, you can also drive the dimension, or let's say a density of them, with a kind of a computation results from the stress calculation. So if you have this kind of a pending beam situation that you have in here, you can first of all calculate or compute the beams in there, or the kind of lattices in there, and then make them kind of happening around the actual computation result. So you will vary the density of those based on the previous computation results. This was of course previously possible by using multiple zones and making it happen in that as well. But this kind of leaves, how would I say, frees a lot of kind of efficiency in there, that you don't have to do so many manual steps, and you can do much more iterations in here rather than just sticking to your manual effort on here. What else do we have? Well, maybe that's a bit better on the next slides. We have new types in here as well for traceable shape for those lattices as well. And then there's a new kind of algorithm on behind of them as well. And as a one nice kind of a sample of what can we do today is this kind of a heat exchanger, where you have a, let's say, green and red fluid, and then you have a blue wall between those two. And all of those you will get for the lattice generation automatically, and this kind of enables you to make the heat exchanger so that you have a maximum amount of the contact area in the shortest possible kind of distance. And you will get each 3 volumes out of it as an outcome. So if you have any exotic applications where the space is really the issue, this might be one of the solution drivers for that one. Yeah, this is again, how would I say, a bit better explanation about the additive manufacturing solution suite for the lattice variability. So idea is that you will go first for some computation software like Creo Simulation Live or the Creo Simulate, and then you go for export them results, and then you start to defining lattice density based on simulation results, and then you get that one lattice density in there, and then you rerun the simulation just to validate the results that they will actually fulfill it. Or if not, you can also do some corrections. There's a few data formats from the stress simulation that you can use. As I mentioned, the Creo Simulation Live is one of them. Also, the Creo Simulate works as it's nice. Then something new for the subtractive manufacturing. What we do have as a new feature is 5-axis high-speed milling. And we have of course, so far the 3-axis high-speed milling, but the 5-axis has been lacking in there, even though the Creo parametric also supports the 5-axis milling. But the toolpaths generated specifically for the 5-axis milling with the high-speed milling kind of approach have been lacking. So there will be around 7 new kind of toolpaths, and these are available for you if you happen to have this new product called Creo High-Speed Milling Plus. And what is happening in our product offering? Previously, we had this Creo 3-axis mold machining extension, and that name is kept for the 3-axis, but we also get a new one with the 5-axis milling in here. And what is happening in here is that current users of this 3-axis mold machining extension will get this 3 to 5 kind of axis license for day without any additional cost. And on the other hand, this Creo high-speed milling 3-axis product is now available for those who are not using, let's say, more than 3 axes on their machines. So basically, we have a new kind of product offering in here. And what's nice with all of this is that previously it's been quite kind of difficult to do effective, let's say, roughing or re-roughing paths in the 5 axis. So basically, you are now able to use your, let's say, full machine capacity a bit better or a bit easier. And this is specifically suits very nicely for the mold and die kind of production parts. What else there was in this one? There was the, and also if you previously have created some 3-axis milling paths, nowadays you can convert them to 5 axis as well. But this can be very handy if you have, let's say, you have 2 machines on your shop floor, and one is 3-axis, one is 5 axis, and basically sometimes you just want to change the machine that you actually run it. So it's easier to take the full benefits out of the machine. Or if you basically upgrade your machines, then it's also easy that you can upgrade the toolpaths as well. So it basically drives kind of a user efficiency in that one. Also, what's very nice is that we do have automatic, basically deburring of toolpaths in here. So basically, we don't have to anymore trace each and every corner in here, and using kind of one trajectory-based approach, system will now automatically find that what are the edges which we should depart and then go through them. And then there is also kind of a new options when it's come to retracts. We don't anymore necessarily retract to the it's kind of a safe plane. We are retracting to the spline that is avoiding the component totally. I've been running through my slides like a madman so far. I think it's time for Q&A session at this moment. Roger, do we have anything nice in here?
Yes, we do, Mikko. And one question is, do you collect training materials for the new functionality somewhere?
Yes, sure. We do have a training courses for each Creo release, and also it's quite nicely supported in the PTC website on the support side. So there is all kind of a collection of what's new in this release, and also release notes for that one. But is there some particular one that you're looking for?
It doesn't mention that. It mentions if we collect training materials for the new functionality. So I think that was a good answer, Mikko.
Okay.
So was it, if you are using 3-axis milling, was the 5-axis available for free?
Yeah, so idea with that one, nice question also. But if you have this existing Creo mold milling kind of application toolkit, then you get without any additional pay this 5-axis toolkit or the mold milling capability for high-speed milling as a free of charge for you. But if you don't have it yet, then you have 2 options. Either you are purchasing the 3 or 5-axis kind of a milling toolkit, high-speed milling toolkit for you, and that's are basically your options. So for existing users, you get the 5th axis as a free of charge, but for new ones, you don't.
Okay, then you just decide if you want 3-axis or 5-axis when you buy the new license. Then I guess.
Yeah, that's the thing.
Okay.
Depending, of course, with your needs.
Does Windshield support inseparable components?
Yeah, so we went there, and the Windshield will support them. And if you look at the slide, that should we go actually in there? I will go fast forward them back in here now. Somewhere at the system we had that one. So Windshield will support Creo 8. That's the thing. And also when support Creo 8, it supports all the possibilities that there is. So let's go and try to find out which was the versions. Come on now, in here. Now, so Windshield 11.1, 11.2 are the ones that are currently supporting Creo 8. And also that will sit well, we'll be supporting that one. And in Windshield side, of course, you have the same thing in there. If it's an inseparable assembly, then there is just a single assembly file and nothing else. So no kind of substructure in items either.
Thank you. And if there are no more questions, here's one more. Is it possible to light up one part, planes or axis in a big assembly?
Yeah, that's also kind of a good question, which always pops up, is that I have a huge assembly and then I just want to have one datum plane in there for either placement or something. Then of course it's possible. You can do that for example with the search tool. You just hit the Control F, and what's happening that you get this kind of a search dialog, and then you say I want to search from that part, show me all datum planes on that one as a list, and then you select one of them, and tada, it's selected. So that's kind of a easiest way to select just one particular one in the huge assembly without actually seeing them in the first hand, to get your kind of a display cluttered. I will add that one to this deep dive webcast that we have and cover that in there as well. And when it comes to our deep dive webcasts, let's go fast forward again. And when do we have our next one? Any other questions?
Not in the questions tab right now. So you still have possibilities. Otherwise, we'll look at our deep dives. So
our deep dive is, I will cover that questions regarding datum plane visibility in there. I'll make personal note of that one. Then we have a second deep dive, which comes to model-based definition and general, geometrical tolerances with the wizard Jonas. He's doing that one. And then the last one, simulation and GDO, I have a deep dive, at the beginning of next month with that one.
So things are looking really good when it comes to Creo.
I think so. That this is also a great release. The 7 was kind of outstanding in that sense that we have multi-bodies and new kind of modeling methodology. This is still giving you even more richer set of tools and ability to really, how would I say, get the things done in the multiple different ways. Since people are nowadays, changing CAD, system from one to another, it's easier for people to relocate the jobs and to get the tools done, things done with their own way that they've been used to. So you don't really have to become a new modeling method. So basically, we are supporting multiple approaches of geometry design.
Perfect. Thank you very much for today, Mikko, and thanks everyone for attending. And don't hesitate to sign up on the website for the deep dives. Thank you very much and have a good day.